So we all, of course, heard what happened in the 49ers and Rams game where 49ers linebacker Devondre Campbell, he ain't want to enter the game in the third quarter, and he actually walked off the field and all. And, of course, that drew comparisons to what happened with Ravens wide receiver. It sounds weird to say that, but Ravens wide receiver Deontay Johnson, to where he refused to enter the Philadelphia Eagles game. But an even bigger comparison has been how Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the 49ers, handled the situation versus how John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, handled that situation. But which one of them got it right? Now, the answer may shock a lot of y'all, but in my opinion, it really shouldn't. And we're getting ready to talk about that shortly and a lot more. Before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn them notifications on. Y'all been going crazy. We are, as of this recording, we are 5 subscribers away from 79K. Let's get there, baby. Let's make it happen. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. Team, keep it clean. Also, make sure you leave a like on the video because it helps out the channel a ton. I love y'all. Let's get into it. So, I've been seeing a lot of discourse amongst Ravens fans on a lot of them just acknowledging and praising how Kyle Shanahan handled the situation post-game with Devondre Campbell, because he was like, no, that's not cool. A lot of the players were like, no, that's not cool. We don't like it. Kyle Shanahan even said that, no, we're going to be moving on from him. And he said that like literally right after the game. I said, oh, okay, well, that was fast. But then you compare it to Harbaugh when he was asked about it. He said, well, we're still gathering all the information on Deontay Johnson. And I know that struck a lot of Ravens fans the wrong way. They were like, man, still gathering all the information? You the head coach. How do you not know what's going on with a player on your team? What's that all about, Harbaugh? And that part I can understand, because I was on the same page as well. I'm like, man, yeah, John Harbaugh is the head coach, gathering information. Like, what information do you need to gather? Are you not the head coach of the team? Are you not running this team? But it later came out that they were going to suspend him. So what I assume with the whole thing that happened with Deontay Johnson, I assume that with the Baltimore Ravens, they were literally still gathering information and deciding on exactly how they were going to handle the situation. And you know, with the Ravens, a lot of their stuff, and it can be frustrating to us as fans, but a lot of their stuff is in-house. They keep a lot of stuff close to the vest. They don't like letting too much get out. And they are very calculated with what they let get out and when they let it get out as well. I mean, y'all been telling me about Hard Knocks that Ravens they like a guest on Hard Knocks. It's not even like they're featured because they're not getting no airtime. And I think that's intentional by the Baltimore Ravens. But we've seen it year after year, time after time, when stuff will just come up out of nowhere, whether a guy gets signed, a guy gets traded for, and it'll be something that we didn't see coming, we didn't know was on the way, but it ends up happening. That's because the Ravens, they are a very, very private team for the most part. But I think with John Harbaugh, the way that he handled it, it was just fine. And then look at this too, because with Kyle Shanahan, this is why it's important to not just blurt off at the mouth, not just say the first thing that comes to your mind right away, because stuff could change. John Harbaugh, again, he handled it well because he said, no, we're still gathering all the information. Then what happened like a day or two later, they issued a statement. All right, Deontay Johnson, he refused to enter the game. He's going to be suspended for this week against the Giants. All right, cool. That's how they handled it. But then with Kyle Shanahan, he said right after the game, no, we're going to be moving on from Devondre Campbell. We're going to be moving on from him. So usually when somebody says moving on, that means that player is getting ready to be cut, released. He's out of there. But guess what? The time right now of this recording is 11:26 a.m. Eastern time on December 14th. Guess who's still on the San Francisco 49ers? Yeah, that guy, Devondre Campbell. So Kyle Shanahan said a lot of stuff that fans wanted to hear at that moment. Even his teammates said a lot of stuff that fans wanted to hear in that moment. But guess who's still on the team despite the head coach speaking out right away saying, oh, no, we're going to be moving on from him? Devondre Campbell is. So the 49ers, even though they acknowledged what they were going to do, they haven't done it yet. They haven't made a move yet. Now, a move could come, a move could happen at any time, whether it's released, suspended, whatever, but they haven't done anything. So they talk the talk, but they have not backed it up. With John Harbaugh, he was reserved. He kept it to himself, and they were still deciding on what exactly is going to happen with this guy, Deontay Johnson. And he ain't say nothing. He didn't speak too much. He didn't let it be known. And I get it because of us as Ravens fans, when Harbaugh gets up there on the podium, when he gets up there in the pressers, we want answers. We want the reporters to ask the tough questions, and we want Harbaugh to give us those real, raw answers. But it simply doesn't always work like that. And I trust me, I get the frustration a lot of times because Harbaugh would be asked certain stuff, and we'd be like, man, really, Harbaugh, come on now. Because he can answer like a politician. He can answer these questions in a way where he gives you an answer, but he doesn't give you the answer. And we're like, Harbaugh, what do you mean? Why are you playing these mind games with us? Why won't you just tell us? Because as we know, this is such a microwave environment. We want it's just like when you heat up food. Instead of cooking it on the stove, which is better, it tastes better, it's good. I mean, microwave food could still be good. But instead of being patient, cooking it on the stove, cooking it in the oven, throwing it on the grill, instead of waiting for it to get prepared that way and waiting for it to take time, we want it and we want it now. That's why we put it in the microwave. And it's the same way when it comes to answers. We want stuff and we want stuff right now. We don't really want to wait for it. But the way that the Baltimore Ravens and John Harbaugh, they waited for it, they prepared it, they let it take time, they ended up looking a lot better than the 49ers did in this situation. So now we reach my absolute favorite part of these videos where we get to feature your questions. If you'd like to take part in it, you can send an email to teamkeepitclean@gmail.com, or for the Team Keep It Clean patrons, you can send your question in a DM directly on Patreon. And if you would like to join the Team Keep It Clean patron, you can go to patreon.com/Ingravenvids. Or if you want to send your question in another way, you can send it directly to our P.O. Box. The address is down below in the description, and so are a lot of other ways if you choose to support the channel. I love y'all, Team Keep It Clean. We got a brand new Team Keep It Clean patron. My guy Ty. I like that. Shout out to my guy Ty. Appreciate you becoming a Team Keep It Clean patron. And his question is, he said, hey man, how you doing today? I'm doing really, really good, man. I appreciate you asking that. We doing really, really good. I hope you're doing even better though. He said, I just started getting into football again after not watching for years during the last season. I've been watching your videos since and just recently subscribed to the Patreon. Appreciate you, Ty. And welcome back to football. I know sometimes like football can be draining. It can be like, oh man, like why did this have to happen? But it's fun. It's fun. So I'm glad you're back. We glad you're back. He said, getting to the point though, we're, as stated frequently, in need of a talented big body wide receiver. There isn't much of a chance of us fixing this before the season ends. That's true. But well, there's one guy, but nah, he not experienced, and Ravens don't even believe in him yet to get in the offense. That being Tez Walker. Anyway, he said, but in the offseason, there are going to be quite a few interesting potential free agents, assuming they don't get re-signed at the end of the season. Enter a soon-to-be free agent playing on a franchise tag currently, T. Higgins. Oof, man. T. Higgins, like, he's so nice, but he's so tricky. He's such a good receiver. Such a good receiver. And he has, like, he's not fast, but he got like sneaky speed. He got a nice like long stride, but he ain't crazy fast. But T. Higgins like jump ball receiver, yeah. Throw it up and go get a receiver, yeah. Fade route receiver, yeah. Big body receiver, yeah. Good, man. It will be nice, man. T. Higgins will be nice, but my thing with T. Higgins, he be hurt a lot, man. T. Higgins be hurt a lot. He missed a lot of games, like them hamstrings, them he always dealing with something, man. That would be a real tricky one, man. It's tricky. Anyway, continuing, he said he would certainly be an upgrade for our receiving core. Yeah, he would for sure. And we'll be able to be that big body wide receiver Lamar could hit over top downfield. He might be a pricey addition to the roster, but not only would it feel like getting back at the Bengals a bit for getting Geno Stone. Oh, no. That would be like way more impactful in my opinion. Ain't no shot at Geno Stone, but that would be way more impactful us getting T. Higgins than them getting Geno Stone. Like straight up, man. Like look, like think about it. Look at what Geno Stone has done for them and how he's impacted their team, their defense, their overall record. And look at the Ravens. They lost Geno Stone and look at their record and look at their situation right now. But anyway, he said, but he's also still young and certainly could build chemistry with Lamar. I couldn't imagine the damage Lamar could do with Henry in the backfield with Zay, Bateman, T. Higgins, and Andrews out there. Ooh, he said, just a thought that popped in my head a while ago, and I wanted to hear some other people's opinions. Man, that would be nice. Do I think it'll happen? I don't, because I don't think Ravens would, because that's just not in their character to offer big money to a free agent wide receiver who's in or entering his prime. So I think there will certainly be. I think Ravens could be interested, but they wouldn't be interested enough to offer T. Higgins the money that he could, more money than he would get somewhere else. So I would love for it to happen. Again, I'll be hesitant with the injury, but I would love for it to happen. A healthy T. Higgins, but I don't think that it would. Next question came from my guy C. He said, "Hey, Raven, hope you're doing well and the family is great." Oh yeah, everybody is good. I appreciate you, man. He said, "I got a quick question. With Deontay Johnson's suspension and uncertainty surrounding his return, coupled with OBJ being released by the Dolphins, a lot of Ravens fans are calling for him to come back." Yeah, like I said in yesterday's video, the vibes, yeah, the leadership, yeah, but the player, for me, I don't see it, man. I just don't. I do not think Odell Beckham Jr. would really do much for the Baltimore Ravens at this point. But that's just me. He said, anyway, in my opinion, though, that doesn't really address our need for a big body wide receiver. No, it wouldn't. He said, if the Ravens don't see a future with Deontay, now you talking the immediate future or next year? Next year future definitely ain't no future there at all. None. But the immediate future, like this year, possibly we'll see. Hopefully. He said, if the Ravens don't see a future with Deontay, I'd rather EDC hold on to him so we can secure draft compensation when he signs with another team in free agency. That brings me to my question. Michael Thomas, the free agent, big body wideout. How much of an impact do you think he could make, even coming off the couch and helping the Ravens push for a Super Bowl? Oh, my goodness. Ooh, Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, big body receiver. I think he like 6'2". He like the same size as Rashad Bateman. But Michael Thomas never really been that big body type wide receiver. He does a lot like Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers. A real good route runner. He's really good with the intermediate stuff, the short stuff. They used to call him slant boy and whatnot, but because he will get like a bunch of short catches, and he's a yak guy too. Well, he does a lot of, in my opinion, let me know if I'm wrong, but in my opinion, he does a lot of the same stuff as a Zay Flowers, as a Rashad Bateman, as a Deontay Johnson. So I don't feel like he would complement the Baltimore Ravens wide receiver. He'd just be adding somebody else who does a lot of the same stuff that those guys already do. Next question came from my guy, Coach G. He said, "What's good, Ingraven? What's good, Coach?" He said, "Always appreciate you keeping us informed with the latest flock news. Do you feel the Ravens are being cautious with K.Mitchell to avoid the same issues they had with J.K. Dobbins and coming back too early?" Ooh, that's a good point. That's a good way to look at it. I ain't thought about it like that. Even though Harbaugh did say, like, hey, K.Mitchell, he was dealing with some other stuff when it came to his injury. But yeah, man, that's a. But at the same time, they had him out there on kick return. So were they being cautious? I don't know. Well, maybe something. Maybe he had a little flare up or something like that. I don't know, but that is a possibility. Maybe he was on there at kick return for the past couple of games, and then they had him inactive against the Eagles, and then they let him rest extra during this bye week and whatnot. So maybe he was playing a little bit, and maybe some felt a little tiny bit uncomfortable. Maybe they saw something minute, whatever. But and then they were like, you know what, just take some extra rest, like extra rest. Then after the bye, hey, you'll be good to go. So I think that is a possibility, man. He also said, "I truly believe that's why we haven't seen him in the offense more. As far as receivers is concerned, do you think Zay is a wide receiver 1, or do we need a DK Metcalf type of guy at wide receiver 1 so Zay can be an elite number 2? Kind of like A.J. Brown and Smitty in Philly, more like 1A and 1B. I respect Zay as a number 1, but he is limited with the 50-50 balls. Much love to you, brother." You said it. I agree 1,000,000%. Is Zay Flowers wide receiver 1 for the Ravens? Yeah. But is he limited on what you can do with him? Yeah, and that's exactly what we talked about in that video where we talked about Lamar when he talked about I keep saying talked about over and over, but when he talked about Mark Andrews and Lamar, he said it. It's like he said, Ravens, read between the lines. He said Mark Andrews, he's a big body wide receiver. That's why he said he could just throw it up to him and he come down with it. And we've seen that. It ain't like Lamar was just talking. We've seen Lamar do that a million times with Mark Andrews. He'll throw it up. He'll have him high point the ball. With Zay Flowers is a baller. We know that. But with Zay Flowers, and that's nothing anybody can do about it, because Zay Flowers, like 5'10", I think, something like that. So Zay Flowers a little shorter. So Lamar can't throw the same type of balls to Zay Flowers. Whoa, hold up. But he can't throw the same type of footballs to Zay Flowers that he could throw to a Mark Andrews. Because Mark Andrews, you got a bigger window, bigger catch radius and whatnot. You could throw the high point stuff. But with Zay, you got to get it like in that perfect spot. Whether he got to be a little more open than the Mark. Yeah, and that's true. He got to be more open than the Mark Andrews for Lamar to get him the ball. Because Mark Andrews could have somebody draped all over him, and Lamar could be like, okay, I'm going to throw it up to him. You 1-on-1. Okay. Even if you 4-on-1, I'm going to throw it up to you. But with Zay Flowers, if somebody draped all over him, Lamar can't throw Zay Flowers the jump ball. So it's just different. I do think Zay Flowers is wide receiver 1 though for the Baltimore Ravens, but that right there, I would love if they did something like that. And because, yeah, it would be a wide receiver 1A and 1B. And, that would be a dream to be able to see that for Lamar Jackson. Lamar's choice. Next question came from my guy, Matt. He said, hey, Dan Ingraven, hope the family's doing well. Oh, they doing great. I appreciate you. He said, I just watched this new GQ Sports video on Lamar's 10 things he can't live without. Have you seen it? I have not seen it. I've only seen the clip of the whole perfume thing that's been getting a lot of people up in arms, and they've been saying all type of crazy stuff. But that perfume's been out for years. It's been out for years. But I do expect, so shout out to Lamar Jackson, I do expect the sales to spike because of the clip, because of the interview, because it's going to drive people to that website. It's going to drive people to his perfume. It's going to drive people to buying it. So, hey, good on you. But anyway, he said in the video, he was mostly promoting his own products, including a children's book and his cologne. It was funny, but also sad if you think about it. I'm a big fragrance collector, so of course I did some digging on his cologne. His cologne is only sold in his own website and is $90. That's a little steep, but anyways, I respect the hustle, but he's going about it the wrong way. It seemed he did it as a side project without collaborating with any big companies and distributors. Maybe he don't want all the middlemen. Maybe he just wanted straight up like, hey, I'm selling it through us. It's me, and he get to get more of the money that way. It's sort of like the agent. Anyway, continue. He said, it got me thinking that these little side hustles is because he doesn't have, he did it. Here we go. Anyway, he said, it got me thinking that these little side hustles is because he doesn't have an agent. An agent would have worked out a deal with companies to push his merch harder instead of just being on his website. From my digging, his cologne was released last year, but it wasn't even well known until this GQ video. Okay, so see, we on the same page, man. Well, not the same page, but that's why I said I would expect them sales to really spike because people going to see it now. Oh, what's Lamar talking about? What's the cologne he talking about? But anyway, he said if you compare him to Mahomes, it's like day and night. Mahomes is in ads all the time with so many brand deals, sponsorships, endorsements. I mean, sure, Mahomes got 3 Super Bowl rings, but Lamar is a 2-time MVP, and I assume he has a lot of fans as well. Oh, well, yeah, he certainly does. Lamar may not get the same level of deals that Mahomes had, but he should be getting some at least. The difference is Mahomes got an agent. Lamar's really shooting himself in the foot by not getting an agent. An agent would have got him a lot more business opportunities. Instead of spending his time and effort on these little side hustles, he could have left it to his agent and focused on football. From what I heard, he almost blew up his contract negotiation years ago because he negotiated himself. Lamar is holding Lamar back with these business decisions. Aside from the love of football, being a football player is about collecting that money after all. Anyway, I expect the Ravens to blow out the Giants by at least 20 points, or I'm calling it rigged. Peace out. All right, so the agent conversation, the side deals conversation, the promotion, the sponsorships and business opportunities. Could Lamar have gotten more? Yeah, he could have gotten more because he got what? He got the Gatorade. He got I think that Heisman house thing with what car company is that? I forget. But what? And again, we don't know. We don't know what he wants. We don't know what he doesn't want. It could be one of those things where he just want to do things his own way, and he don't want to work with big companies because some people are like that. Some people are like that where they don't care for all the sponsorships and whatnot. They don't care for all of the. We don't know. We don't know. So and when what you're talking about with the contract negotiations, from what you heard, he almost blew up his contract negotiations years ago. I mean that's negotiations. Especially with a contract, negotiating a football contract, like it's gonna be times where did he almost blow it up? I'm sure him and EDC had blow ups at each other because it's negotiations, it's business. But do you see the contract that he's on right now? Yeah, I would assume he took care of that business. So I don't want to even talk about the almost stuff because negotiation, it happens. You're gonna go back and forth. So that part is. I can't say it's null and void because the contract is good. It's not null and void. But I think that point about the contract is null and void because he got it. He got it. But as far as the deals, yeah, could he have gotten more deals with an agent? Yeah, he could have. Could he get more deals on his own? Yeah, he could have. He could. But again, we don't know what happens with that. I know there's been a conversation here and there amongst a lot of people. Oh, Lamar ain't got this brand deal and that brand deal and that brand deal. But we don't know. We don't know what he's negotiating. We don't know what he's turned down. We don't know everything that he's accepted. So it's just so tricky because the biggest part about the whole thing is we really don't know. So we can assume this and that, and yeah, we can see Patrick Mahomes and whatnot, see him on all this different type of stuff and whatnot. But with Lamar, it's just it's so much that we don't know, because like we talked about with Harbaugh earlier, we talked about how Harbaugh and the Ravens, they keep a lot of stuff close to the chest. Oh, you talk about close to the chest? That's Lamar Jackson all day. Next question came from my guy Nova, who is also a Team Keep It Clean patron, and this is actually part 2 to something he said in part 1 for a couple of days ago. He said, Ingraven over here again with my part 2 rant. Hope the first one was bearable, as this one is going to be all about Harbaugh and the disdain me and others have had with him. As always, thank you for all you do, and as your family, and hope you and your fam are blessed. I appreciate you. See, he started with that positive, because he is sounding like you better go in. He said, so with those comments I made about Lamar and Orr, it led me back to Harbs, and man, oh man, I just have one question for him going forward. What are you coaching for? It's a rhetorical question, so I know you don't have the answer, but it's the circling theme I've had in this rant. He said, we all know coaching matters. Look no further than teams like the Chargers, Denver, Washington, etc., and the improvements made within this year. Talent is like raw ingredients, but coaching is the recipe to turn said ingredients into a delicious meal, or in this case, results each time the team steps on the field. Now, real quick, before we continue, it's funny you brought up the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Commanders. They all got new coaches. The Chargers got new coach, Jim Harbaugh. The Broncos got a new coach. I forgot who. The Washington Commanders got a new coach, Dan Quinn. All of them teams, 8-5. Every one of them. They 8-5. We got the same record as those guys. Well, I mean, things might have changed now, but we had the same record as them. And those are teams with brand new coaches. But we got the same coach that we done had since 2008. We got a Lamar Jackson. We got we got some players too now. What are we doing with the same record? Anyway, he said, I bring up the importance of coaching because we have a lot of talent on both sides of the field, and while others are overachieving with what they have, we have underperformed. And I think a lot of that is because Harbs and his insisting of being right rather than winning, and his overinflated ego. All right, let me adjust my chair for this one. He said, for example, his press conferences have been really snappy unnecessarily when the reporters are doing their job. Meanwhile, if Harbs did his more effectively, then there wouldn't be too many criticisms asked. It's like he has the press conferences awareness of Eberflus in the day he was fired, and they sound similar if you listen. His game management screams Staley, and I don't need to explain how atrocious he was. He does the coaching thing of motivation, and yet his players always sound uninspired, especially in the Lamar era, which I can cite players like Hollywood, Dez, Dobbins, and recently Deontay Johnson. His background before was special teams, and yet that has been the biggest culprit of losses this year. Yes, even more than the defense, in my opinion. So if you can't motivate your players to perform, can't fix what you were the coach of before Baltimore, and can't get the media to believe in your ability, I ask again, what are you coaching for? Let's keep going. We knew our offensive line was a problem back in preseason. We let Zeitler leave and didn't have a suitable plan to replace his production. Makari is talented as he can play all 5 positions, but he doesn't do any of them well enough to merit a starting position, and Falele is a liability so often. We all know it's going to be 1st and 15 at least once a drive. And when people ask you why you don't replace these guys with other players who play the guard better, like Voorhees or Powers, oh, you mean Cleveland. You act like we are supposed to take your word that the best players are on the field. This also impacts the offense way too often. Lamar has to drop back or make more guys miss every time just to get a screen off. Henry and Hill can't get the running lanes to get more than 5 yards regularly. Andrews and likely can't get to their spots fast enough because you got to keep someone back to chip a defender. Thank goodness Stanley is having a great year, or we really would not have an O-line that blocks. We would have an O-line that blocks like French doors. But if you aren't willing to coach these guys to some toughness, replace them with the others that we have on the bench, or bring in people to compete, you're setting this offense up to have to deal with not only the opposing defense, but their own inadequacies as well as, and that's losing football. What are you coaching for? My goodness, that boy is going in, ain't he? But you're making some good points, and this is something that I agree with, and we've been saying that tough decisions got to be made more often with the Baltimore Ravens. Anyway, he said there's more. Why do you feel the need to have a doghouse? Why are we not putting the best people out there to perform just because you don't like them? I'm tired of seeing our receivers out there making egregious drops after Lamar has scrambled for 20 yards, made 2 guys miss him, and all this effort just for Aguilar to fail his one job. DJ and Wallace should be seeing more time if those receivers continue these painful drops. Where is the accountability not only with your players, but with your position as head coach? Again, what are you coaching for? My goodness. He also said 2 more points, and I think I'll be done. JT has been a GOAT for over a decade. I won't act like we know him better than you do, but I do question, how are you handling his kicking woes? You don't want to bring in a kicker. I can accept that. But where is the change? Have you worked with the kickers in Philadelphia and had great kicking with players like Akers and there and Cundiff here, and now you can't fix a kicker that is better than anyone else who has played the position, debatably? When is JT going to start playing like a Raven like you want us to believe you have these guys doing? The team is on the L line Metro because JT isn't driving his vehicle where he was both automatic and clutch, and the fact that you accept this is just exuding how obnoxious you are as a coach, and that's unacceptable. Let's be real. If one player had an attitude or had your attitude, you would cut him. So why are you not practicing what you coach? Oh my goodness. Why are you always pointing a finger and never addressing the 3 pointing back at you? What are you coaching for? Oh my goodness. You wow. Continuing. He said, and lastly, the penalties. I already mentioned Falele and how he keeps the refs almost as busy as when the Chiefs play, LOL. But honestly, this O-line racks up penalties like penny stocks. The Philadelphia game was an improvement, but it still shows lack of discipline. When will we see consistent change there? Why do we see some players with maximum effort while others are on the field for what seems to be decoration? Oh, my goodness. Why does it seem your nonchalant attitude is an appropriate metaphor for how the team lacks urgency? When will we actually do what needs to be done rather than just hoping for the best? Faith without works is dead, and dead will be our Super Bowl aspirations if we can't get the refs to stop pushing this offense back. I notice other coaches can coach out these errors, and yet we have the second longest tenured coach who still acts surprised when we can all see Falele or Makari hold a defender like a lost relative. When will the coach who was savvy, provocative, and brilliant replace this comfortable, lackadaisical, and vindictive guy we see today? Unfortunately, I think it won't be until our owner starts to put the flame to your feet will you actually start leading and stop trying to be a boss. So, for the last time, I ask, what are you coaching for? What drives you to wake up and show up to this facility? What keeps you hungry for success, and what drives you to instill that same emotion to your coaches and players? I don't know what it is, but I'm going to need you to find it and hold it like this O-line does and never let it go until you can replace it with a Super Bowl trophy. Well, with another one, because remember, he got that first one now. He said, I titled this Stonewall Jackson because these traits show with Lamar. And if you know history, you know what Stonewall Jackson is famous for. And that's exactly what is going on with our team with this pitiful head coaching he is doing. I am sorry for this encyclopedia of a message, but I had to get this off my chest. Thanks again, Ingraven, for what you do for us. Oh, you ain't got to thank me for nothing. I appreciate you sending this. He said, oh, and lastly, I think this year's MVP is a wrap. Either they give it to Allen, who has been playing out of his mind since we gave him a flogging, or Saquon gets $2K and he earns it. Either way, Lamar will be the Super Bowl MVP. So how you say all of that stuff and then you say Lamar, then the Ravens, they going to win a Super Bowl and he going to get a Super Bowl MVP? Woo! What are you coaching for? Wow, that was a lot. That was a whole lot, but you covered pretty much everything that I think all of us have been talking about too. You covered it all, but you went into detail, and hopefully they do get it turned around. Something that you said toward the end, where you talked about with John Harbaugh, a lot of times he don't coach as well until he really got his feet to the fire, and his back against the wall. I feel like the Ravens right now, their backs aren't all the way against the wall, but they're getting a little close. Right now they're in the 5 seed, which is cool. Wild card team, all right, cool, but there's a lot of other teams that are right there neck and neck with you. So, in a sense, their backs are against the wall. So, I expect them starting this week against the Giants to really play like it.